You know, Justin Bieber's story, it feels like we all watched it happen. It's supposed to be this modern-day fairy tale, right? A kid from a small town gets discovered on YouTube and becomes, well, the biggest pop star on the entire planet. But underneath all the sold-out arenas and the screaming fans, there's a way darker story. A story about what that kind of fame actually costs. So today, we're going to go beyond those headlines and figure out what really happened to Justin Bieber. This quote right here from Justin himself, it really just says it all. Can you even imagine being a teenager and having the whole world not just watching you, but literally worshiping you? This was never just about the music. It was about a kid trying to figure himself out under a microscope with pressure that is just unimaginable. And as you're about to see, that pressure had some pretty devastating consequences.
Okay, so let's rewind. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. It all started so simply. You know, a mom, a pretty cheap camera, and a kid in his living room who just had this raw, incredible talent. It really was the ultimate dream, that kind of discovery story that just captured an entire generation. The speed of his rise was just insane. We're talking about 3 years. In just 3 years, he went from being some unknown kid in small-town Ontario to a global icon. His mom posted these YouTube covers of him singing Usher and Chris Brown, and this manager, Scooter Braun, saw them and knew he had something. Next thing you know, he flies Justin and his mom down to Atlanta, Usher gets involved, and then boom, baby comes out, and just like that, the entire world had Bieber fever.
But here's the thing. The very machine that was pushing him to the top, it was also incredibly dangerous. And that dream, well, it started to show its cracks pretty quickly. That global spotlight went from being a blessing to being this invasive, kind of cruel curse.
Just think about being a teenager for a second. Your voice changes, you have your first kiss, you go through all those awkward phases. Now imagine every single one of those moments being broadcast, picked apart, and mocked for the whole world to see. That was his actual life. His personal life wasn't his own anymore. It was just content.
And we're not just talking about tabloids here. This stuff was happening on national television. You had talk show hosts openly making fun of his voice changing. He'd go on The Ellen Show and she'd flash these embarrassing childhood photos, and you could see how uncomfortable he was, but everyone just laughed it off. Even hosts like James Corden, who has this friendly reputation, would just repeatedly cross his personal boundaries, making his discomfort into a joke. And this moment right here at the 2012 Billboard Awards, it shows just how far it all went. The actress Jenny McCarthy forcefully kissed him on the neck right there on stage. He was only 18, and what was his immediate reaction? I feel violated right now. But the crowd? They just cheered. Seriously, just imagine if the genders were reversed. This moment, like so many others, was just turned into another funny viral clip.
But all these public humiliations, they were really just symptoms of a much bigger, much more sinister problem. The industry machine itself. You know, the one that makes a massive profit from turning kids into products.
So this is where the story takes a really, really disturbing turn. A video came out that showed Justin's mentor, Usher, basically handing him over to Diddy for 48 hours. Now remember, at the time, Justin was signed to a label with Usher and Scooter Braun. These were the guys he trusted. But then you see later videos of a clearly terrified Justin around Diddy. This wasn't mentorship. This was something else.
So, alongside the personal exploitation, there was the financial side of things. And this gets to one of the biggest, well, scams in the music industry, the advance. On paper, it looks like the label is just giving an artist millions of dollars, but what it really is a high-stakes loan that the artist has to pay back completely before they ever see a dime.
Let me break this down for you. An artist like Justin, he can generate $100 million in revenue. But the label, they take their advance back first. Every single penny. After that, the artist only gets this tiny sliver of the profits, somewhere between 10 and 16%. So you can be a global superstar, making unbelievable amounts of money for other people, and still be in debt to your own label. It's wild.
And if you think that's bad, oh, it gets worse. There's this thing called cross-collateralization. And what that means is, if one of your albums fails, the debt from it gets tacked on to your next one. So an artist could have a huge, massive hit album, but still be paying off the debt from a flop they released years earlier. It's a cycle. It's literally designed to keep artists trapped.
So with all this pressure, no privacy, the public humiliation, this insane financial trap, is it really any wonder what happened next? All of it led directly to his infamous public breakdown, a period that the media just loved to call his bad boy era. Between 2013 and 2015, the headlines were just relentless. DUI charges, fights, drug use. He pushed away everyone who loved him. And it got so bad that, as he later revealed himself, his own security guards had to come in and check his pulse at night just to make sure he was still alive. These weren't celebrity antics. These were cries for help.
So after hitting absolute rock bottom, Justin started this long, very public search for a way out. He was trying to reclaim his own story, to find some stability, and to rediscover his purpose, both through his music and in his personal life.
His 2015 album, Purpose, was a massive turning point. I mean, with hits like Sorry and Love Yourself, it really felt like this huge public apology, like an attempt to reset his entire narrative. And it worked. It was a huge success, and it gave him a shot at getting his life back on track.
Then, in 2018, he kind of shocked everyone by marrying Hailey Baldwin. And this immediately created these two completely different stories that fans still argue about today. Justin himself says that Hailey brought him peace and stability, but there's this other perspective, mostly fueled by fan theories, that suggests the marriage actually isolated him from his old friends and his support system. We can't really know the truth, but it just goes to show how his personal life is still a public battleground. But even with the comeback and his search for a stable life, the true cost of his fame was about to come due. And it happened in the most shocking way you can imagine, leading to this crisis that threatened his health, his money, and his whole legacy.
And then 2022 happened, and it all just came crashing down. First, he was diagnosed with Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, this rare neurological condition that actually paralyzed half of his face. At the exact same time, even though he had generated nearly $1 billion in his career, he was apparently cash poor. And on top of it all, that public pressure, it never stopped. It was literally a perfect storm.
The numbers here are they're absurd. After a career that made almost $1 billion, an audit revealed that Justin Bieber owed his own manager, Scooter Braun, almost $9 million. The system had worked exactly as it was designed to. The star was in debt to the machine. So facing this health crisis and financial ruin, Justin made a decision that almost no artist makes this young. He sold everything, his entire music catalog, 291 songs, for this one staggering number, $200 million.
I mean, let that sink in. At just 28 years old, he sold his entire legacy. For Justin, this wasn't about cashing out. This was about buying his freedom. It was the only way he could see to finally break free from the debt, from the pressure, from the industry that built him up just to nearly destroy him.
And even now, the struggle continues. You know, settling his debts, it offers this little glimmer of hope that he can finally get some control back over his own life. But the industry, it never really lets go. His pain, his story, his trauma, it's all still a product that's being sold. Which brings us all the way back to this one fundamental question. Justin Bieber's story, it started out as a fairy tale, but it became this cautionary tale about the real human cost of celebrity. And it forces us to ask, when a person's entire life is turned into a product from the time they're a child, can they ever truly be free?